You know, this is what got me, had me all caught up here, because it didn't seem right. For which cause I please myself in my infirmities. So let me stop here.
You see, they believe in salvation by works, not in salvation by faith. And I'm not making any judgments on their religion or upon yours, and I want you to understand it. I'm a true constitutionalist. I believe that everyone has the right, protected by the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, to worship at whatever altar they choose. I have no qualms with that. The problem I have with these people is that they lie, and they deceive, and they manipulate, and they have done so throughout history. And they are not the only ones, for the Christian church has done the same, and the Jewish rabbis have done the same, and nations and governments have done the same, and they do it because the people allow them to do it. For the people, for the most part, and this is absolutely true, no matter how angry you become upon hearing it, are nothing more than sheeple who never, ever use their brains. They look for someone else to tell them what is true and what is false, to tell them when to get up and when to go to bed. They look with envy upon the person who has elevated themselves to a position of ownership, who have, through sweat and labor and toil and study, started a business that has succeeded, and because they cannot or will not use their brains, they must work for this person, and so they hate him. Sheeple. In the mysteries, this phrase is used. A nation or world of people who will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. And you can take that to the bank. The initiates of the flame and their robes of glory have passed behind the veil. They have accumulated and hoarded knowledge, and they hide it from the public, and they justify their selfishness and their hoarding of the knowledge and the wisdom and the technology of the ages by stating, even though it is forbidden to mention the name of Jesus in the lodge, they quote him when it is to their benefit, stating, "Do not cast your pearls before swine." And that should give you some indication of what they think of you. And no matter what they think of themselves, or how they manage to fool themselves or the world, they are no more a fraternal organization existing for the good of the community than pigs wear bow ties and go to the prom. For anyone who practices the lies and deceit that these men do, have no morals, cannot have good intentions, for what they are building is based upon a lie, it is based upon deceit, it is based upon manipulation, and anything born of a lie is just a bigger lie, and has been throughout the history of the world. And in their deception, in their arrogance, they look upon the public as prey, and they, being beasts, feed lavishly upon the ignorance of the sheeple. You want to know who they are? Go down to your local Masonic lodge. Go down to the ancient Order of the Rosy Cross. Go down to the Order of St. John of Jerusalem. Nothing good is veiled in secrecy ever. For nothing good ever has to be. No one engaged in truth and goodness ever hides behind a lie.
What Paul the Apostle said back there, right? He learned things and heard things from a man he met 14 years ago that went up into the third heaven that can't utter things amongst, the everyday people.
If you want to see who they are.
But at the same time, he said he would always speak the truth.
Watch who enters the portals of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. Read the rolls of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Look to the bureaucrats who inhabit the halls of government in Washington, D.C. Look to the upper echelons of the military services of the United States of America, the colonels and generals who have sold this nation out to a new world order, a one-world totalitarian socialist government under the United Nations. And it is not a conspiracy. Don't call it a conspiracy. It is all out in the open, and it stands upon the ignorance, apathy, and stupidity of the American people. That is the foundation upon which the New World Order is built.
Remember, this is what I'm looking for. There's a scene here.
Let us watch these mighty ones as they pass by. First Orpheus playing upon the seven-stringed lyre of his own being, the music of the spheres. Then Hermes, the thrice greatest, with his emerald tablet of divine revelation.
See, thrice. There it was. Thrice great. Hermes, right? The door is thrice because there's three sides. Well, there's four, but they say there's three sides to a door.
Through the shades of the past, we dimly see Krishna, the illuminated, who on the battlefield of life taught man the mysteries of his own soul. Then we see the sublime Buddha, his yellow robe not half so glorious as the heart it covered, and our own dear master, the man Jesus, his head surrounded with a halo of golden flame, and his brow serene with the calm of mastery. Then Mohammed, Zoroaster, Confucius, Odin, and Moses, and others no less worthy, pass by before the eyes of the student, the initiate. For in the mysteries they claim that these were the sons of flame. From the flame they came, and to the flame they have returned. To us they beckon and bid us in our robes of self-earned glory to join them and serve the flame they love. A direct quote. They say that these were without creed or clan, that they served but the one great ideal, the great work or the great plan. They claimed that Jesus was a member of a Gnostic sect, and that he is a fiction born of the mysteries. The wound in the side in the mysteries, or the wound in the thigh, are metaphors for castration, the severance of the genitals. It is represented in the mysteries when the...
There it is. The wound in the side of Paul, the thorn, and his revelations and visions.
Candidate lies in the coffin as George Bush did, naked in the crypt at Yale University with a ribbon tied around his genitals, symbolizing the separation of the animal in man and the elevation of the intellect. The same with Parzival. In the end of the tale, the search for the Holy Grail, after he had achieved his goal, after he had finally obtained the Grail, he lay in bed with a woman who tried her best to coax him into making love to her, and he said, "I cannot, for I have a wound in the side."
Didn't Paul or Saul, whatever his name is, when he took on the mission for Christ, leave his wife so he could go do Christ's work? And this reminds me of, Tex Mars, don't trust him, but But it reminds me of Tex Mars when he was pointing out, and he got all upset that it's probably a fake, outrage, because come to find out he's an agent. There are those that can prove this guy is an agent, and he's just there for the Christian persuasion, if you would. But yeah, he made a big deal about how on the military website for Israel, they claim that when they welcomed in LGB, whatever you want to call them, into them, their military, they claim that they were the closest thing to godhood because of who they are and their life choices, because they've found the balance between male and female, and they now walk in one line, balancing both.
In the mysteries, you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that in history the Holy Grail never existed until the tales sprang up with the bards of Europe from the halls of the Templars. And wandering minstrels sang these stories of this Holy Grail in the Celtic kingdoms. There was never any reference before that time of any Holy Grail. It comes from the mysteries. And in the search for the unification of the male, the masculine, and the feminine, since the man could not take within himself a woman, he emasculated himself to get rid of the male. And thus was said to be able to rise to great heights of wisdom and intellect and knowledge.
Doesn't that remind you? Because that's what caught me. Does that not remind you of what Paul is saying there in 2 Corinthians 1 through 7? With the visions and the revelations that come to him and meeting somebody, which he can't tell if he's in his body or out of the body, or if the man he's meeting is in his body or out of the body. He's learned great things that cannot be uttered on earth, while in the third heaven talking to this man.
Be able to...
That him being deformed means that the power of Christ or the power of this Lord now can sift through him better.
Prophesy and see into the future.
See what I just said.
The mystery of the spear with the 3 drops of blood, or the lance as it is called, followed by the woman or the maiden carrying a platter with 2 perfect stones, followed by the Grail cup containing a head surrounded by blood, is nothing more than the testicles and the penis of the castrated Fisher King. I have discovered the origin and the meaning of this myth, and I've just revealed it to you. You do not have to look any further. It was never Christ's cup that he...
So tell me what you think.